Hey everyone, welcome to my show. Be sure to hit like, follow, and subscribe on YouTube and Twitch for all my exclusive content. Hello again everybody, welcome back to the channel. We're playing Watcher of Realms here, and we are going to talk about another boss of the Immortal Codex. You may have just seen the video I put out the other day about the Arbiter of Frost fight. A little more complex, a little more difficult of a fight. Today we're going to talk about the Wasteland Titan. It's one of the other 6 bosses available to challenge in the Immortal Codex as they kind of rotate through them. This particular fight is really going to test your healer's ability and how well you have upgraded and promoted them so far. Taking a look at the boss fight here. The Wasteland Titan, damage inflicted, is accompanied by a debuff that reduces healing received, which can be dispelled. Only Iona can deal significant damage to the Titan, who boasts high defense. This is very true. Bringing your own heroes who do damage and DPS will have very little effect. You know, you're going to hit for like 100, whereas they're going to hit for like 100,000. So it's a pretty, or 10,000 or whatever. So it's a pretty big difference in terms of the damage output. It is immune to all debuffs and control effects. All heroes gain increased rage regen, and the Iona gains skill enhancements. So, just to kind of walk you through this actual fight, so you can see what it looks like. I'm sure you probably have already done this, but just in case you haven't, let's just take a quick peek at what we've got going on here. So, the beginning stages here, you have 7 different statues of Iona. They will all start off inactive. For the first stage of the fight, only the first one can be revived. You'll use your healers, making sure they're in range to target the statues, to apply healing to them when their health gets up on this little bar, up to a certain level all the way. It changes from, we'll call this magenta, to green, and then she's active, and then she starts attacking the boss and doing significant damage to him, and he's going to keep hitting and throwing damage over time, and massive AoE abilities and things like that. That's going to bring this meter back down, and when it gets below a certain point, like it's around 40-50%, turns back into statue mode, and then you've got to kind of heal her back up again to kind of flip-flop back and forth, as well as keeping your own healers alive at the same time. So for this fight, I've brought 5 healers. I also chose to bring a Lord hero, and I went with the Northern Throne. Reason for this one is because of the ability here. First off, 3 of my healers are Northern Throne healers. We'll look at the group there in just a second. So boosting their basic attributes by 10% could certainly come in handy, as well as periodically giving them all a shield equal to 20% of their max HP. And the more that you have from the team, the more frequently it takes effect. So again, having multiple healers, we're all in that grouping, kind of taking that effect. If my people are shielded, then they can focus more of the healing on the statues, which should lead to a higher damage output in theory. So let's see what we got going on here. So we've got 5 healers all stacked around this particular one. Now you'll notice I have Maiden facing in, because Maiden has the dispels all debuffs for all allies in range, is the ultimate ability there. So when her ultimate triggers, she's taking off the debuffs that the boss throws up. The boss throws up a debuff that reduces the amount of healing you received. So as that debuff stacks and the boss continues to hit harder and harder, it's going to be more difficult to keep your healers alive, to keep healing the statues, etc. So if you can throw that debuff once in a while to take that off, that'll let your guys live longer. They live longer, they heal more, the statues get to do more damage. As I mentioned at the beginning of the fight, you can see like these ones are still in the magenta color, but these ones have now flipped over to green here. They have that little meter in the middle. When it gets below that, they'll turn back into statues. I've prioritized for right now, based on the range and things like that I have of my healers, just focusing on these first 5 statues. These 2 outliers here would be great if I could keep them up too, because it'd be a lot more damage. My healers just don't quite have the range to reach these targets, and I don't want to kind of spread them out too much, because then they get out of range of each other, and you need to keep them healing each other at the same time too. So I'm sure there's ways you can tweak the positioning on this a little bit to try to, maximize that, but for now, this is what I'm going with. Maybe as my healers get better, or I get, maybe some. Um, these are all epic healers. I have no legendary healers, so maybe some legendary healers have better range and can, encompass more of the board here. But we're going with what we got. So as you can see, keeping the statues up. Even once in a while, some of the splash effect healing does make its way over to these healers. So this one actually did get back in the fight. That statue's taken out. This one's going to drop pretty soon too. But some of these healers do have kind of a splash effect or a chain effect that bounces. And sometimes the ones further up the board here will pick up some healing and stick around for a little bit. But so far we're doing pretty solid here, getting all the way to an A grade. Again, with just 5 epic healers, which we'll look at in just a second. I also may need to play around with some gear, as we recently discovered. Healers do not benefit from anything related to criticals. No crit damage, no crit chance bonus. So I may have some gear on some people that might need to get swapped around. Hey, looks like we upgraded some stuff. I think I awakened a hero. I think I awakened Nascende. But this is what I'm using here. It's an all epic lineup. Nothing like over the top. Oh my god, amazing. Wow. Obviously there are quite a few, I'm sure, better options. And if we go look at the leaderboard here and you see what everybody else is using, yeah, that's a lot of legendary healers and things like that. And that's what most of the top lineups are using. Now this one is still using Maiden, probably for the dispel ability. The guy in third place right here, haha. But these are some pretty high scores. 2.5. This is 2.4 million points that these guys at the top of the leaderboard are using. But most of them, okay, a little bit of a mixture here with a couple of epics, but a lot of them are using mostly lots of legendary healers. So I've got an all epic lineup. I'm top 59%, which awesome. Top 60%. That'll get me a little bit of something. It'll give me 600 coins. But again, even sometimes just getting on the board with these fights is enough. Pick up a little bit extra, build some momentum when this boss comes back next month or 2 or 3 months down the road. You'll be better equipped to handle them and try again. Let's take a look at my particular lineup like I mentioned. So we're using, whoops. We've got Rourke, strictly for the Lord bonus. If you have another hero, with throwing out the Lord bonus there. If you don't have Rourke, you can use Dagna. Will also still throw out the Lord bonus. Obviously it's better. You're boosting faction team members by 10% with Rourke, but if you weren't participating in the event where you're collecting shards to build him that we just ran, I think that was in May, you might need to use another option. But you'll see the difference between them. Dagna only boosts by 5%, and the shield only gives a 10% bonus. Might not be worthwhile. Oh, and the shield is only lasts for 15 seconds. So Dagna clearly a downgrade, but if that's what you got, might be worth using depending on what other people you have. Maybe that's just a 6th healer that you put in instead. But in this case, I do have Rourke, so I'm getting a 10% bump to all the faction members. And then they're also getting a shield as well. And since I'm using 3 healers, we've got Vortex, Lightlock, and Maiden who are in that group. These 3 people are getting a stat bonus. These 3 people are getting a shield periodically. And that period is reduced because I've got 3 of them out there. So that's pretty helpful. And then I've also got Lily and Nascende as other healers, but I'm sure there are other options available too. These are just the 5 that I've got. If we go look at in terms of healers, Dolores, not really going to be too beneficial here. Doesn't really heal a lot, and I don't know that a stat bonus would help with any of the statues in terms of their damage output. I don't know if that would apply. Probably not. Now here's one I haven't looked at. And I think Autumn's ability here increases crit damage, which again is going to help other attackers, not apply into a healing situation. So not going to help heal anything at all here. So Autumn, not particularly useful in my opinion in this particular fight. But if we go back to Fastidious's website here and we go look at, I think it's Gollum is how it's probably ranked here. Oh, we'll do that and go from the top down. Yeah, you can see lots of the healers is how we're ranking them with Eloin at the top, and then as you're starting to go down, Maiden and Vortex and Nascende are all fairly high still, actually higher than some of the other epics in this particular. I'm sorry, some of these epics are higher than some of these other legendaries in this particular fight. So, sometimes, rarity class doesn't always make the most of an impact there. So, and then you can see some of the other heroes a little further down. Yeah, Lily not one of the higher ranked ones, but you kind of do what you can and to work with what you've got there. And Lightlock also fairly low on the board here. I can say in my experience, those are the two that usually die the first. The quickest is usually Lily, and then Lightlock going down pretty, the first wave. Whereas Nascende and Vortex and Maiden kind of stick around for a little while longer. May just be the way that their stats are lined up. That's also something to keep in mind when you're looking at these. We've talked about this with other healers before and other tips, but healers can trigger off of one of two different ways in terms of their skills, and it's important to go right there. Lightlock here has attack-based healing. Vortex here has HP-based healing. For this particular fight, your HP-based healers are probably going to be the ones that are more successful because they're going to have higher health, so they're going to stick around longer. The ones that are attack-based, usually you don't have as good of a balance with attack stats and HP stats. However, again, because I just learned this this week, since crit doesn't help at all, it's really just it's attack, HP, whatever's going to trigger it. And then attack speed will be relevant to the healers because they'll heal faster, and then your healing effect is the only thing that's going to give any additional bonus healing. So if you have to maybe swap some gear around after watching this, like I did, I probably still have to swap a few pieces off some people if I have options to move things too. I just ran a bunch of gear raids, so I might have to upgrade some stuff still, and then I can move some pieces around and try and get some of those crit pieces off my guys. Luckily, Vortex currently not using anything, but Lightlock is. I got something on there that's giving him 38% to crit rate. Not really helping, so we're going to have to take that off. Maybe find something that's got, more healing effect, more attack speed, or maybe just some more HP so Lightlock lives a little longer. But you can obviously see, Vortex here has a base that's pretty high, 10,000, plus I'm getting an additional 20,000. Vortex has 30,000 HP. Lightlock has 18? Yeah, about 18,000. So clearly going to die first, as opposed to more of an HP-based healer. And that's the same thing for some of these other people here. But again, I'm going to have to shuffle some gear around, and maybe now that I'm not, if I'm making sure that I'm taking things with crit out, if I can, if the other stats are just really awesome, then I'm probably just going to leave it until I get something that is just as equally awesome, but doesn't have crit. But for now, like what piece of gear is given? So this one's given 9%, so that might be an easy swap out, right? Attack-based healer, great. Maybe I can find something that take this crit out, still has some decent attack and possibly healing effect stuff, but might have HP here instead or something like that. So keep this healer in the fight longer is all I'm getting at with that. So that's the basics for this particular fight. Isn't really any other way to sort of work your way around it, because again, all the statues are the one doing all the damage, so you got to keep your own people alive so they can keep the healers, so they can keep the statues up and running. If there's anything that I missed, please feel free to correct me in the comments. I'm newer to the game, so maybe I missed something, and maybe there's something in strategy that you found that has made you have a lot more success in this particular fight that is worth sharing with everybody else. So thank you very much for watching the video, and I'll see you around. Take it easy.